Welcome back. The U.S. will continue to treat the COVID pandemic as a public health emergency at least through early next year. While the emergency declaration gives Americans continued access to free vaccines, tests, and treatment, it does not extend help in other areas, including rental assistance.
The Treasury Department estimates that less than $7 billion out of the total $46.5 billion allotted is still available. Now, over the past few weeks, states like Georgia, New Hampshire, Idaho, and Iowa ended their rental assistance programs with little to no notice to residents, in fact. And while Colorado residents have just 24 hours to get their applications in. Micah Smith out of Denver has more on this.
In a matter of months, Preston Brockington Jr.'s life drastically changed.
I lost my wife and I had COVID. But we go through things, and we have to do things to try and make up for the loss. And that's what I did.
Brockington says he couldn't work, fell behind on his rent, so he turned to the Community Outreach Service Center for help.
Preston, he is a great guy. He needed some assistance, and so he was able to get his ERAP approved and get help.
Case manager LaShawn Dixon says ERAP, Colorado's emergency rental assistance program, has helped Brockington and many others stay in their homes.
I've done at least about 600 of these ERAPs, but once it's done, pretty much the state will fund their rent, pay what they're behind, and pay them up for a couple months.
The emergency rental assistance program has been both beneficial for landlords and tenants throughout Colorado, posed by stabilizing households for the tenant, as well as the landlord able to collect their income and prevent homelessness or eviction.
Melissa Nearson, the state's housing recovery manager, says Colorado has distributed $300 million in emergency rental assistance so far, and there's still $100 million left for those in need of help.
To be eligible for the rental assistance program, you must be a resident of the state of Colorado, have a household income of under 80% of the area median income, and have experienced a financial hardship during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Applicants have until November 15th to apply for the assistance.
With God's help and ERAP, anything and everything is possible.
Brockington says he knows how hard it can be to ask for help, but he's grateful he did. Reporting in Denver, I'm Micah Smith for Newsy.
So where does this leave us now in the pandemic? Fortunately, we're joined by one of our favorites, Dr. Jane Morgan, the Executive Director of the COVID Task Force at Piedmont Healthcare. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, Altagracia Pierre-Outerbridge, a landlord tenant attorney, and Daniel Grubbs Donovan, a research specialist with Eviction Lab. Thank you all for joining us for this very important topic. Dr. Morgan, I want to start with you. Just with the current state of the pandemic, we've all had a little bit of COVID fatigue. It feels like people are dropping their masks. We're not as, I guess, COVID conscious. I just got my booster shots last week, the updated ones, but I'm only 1 in 10 Americans that have done that. So are there any concerns that you have about the lack of vaccinations as we head into these winter months?
You know, first of all, congratulations for being 1 of 10 who's gotten this bivalent booster. We certainly want to push others to think about getting this vaccine, and especially as we move into flu season, and we have an increase in RSV, and we have all of these holidays coming and holiday gatherings, and we don't want people to bring all of their infectious diseases to the holiday gathering. We only have 10% that have received this bivalent vaccine, so we want to make certain that others do, as we have this soup of variants that's out there.
You say soup of variants.
We're calling it a soup of variants.
That's from the Omicron, right?
1.1, 1.1.1, 1.1.2. So this is this soup of variants that are out there.
That being said, are we just going to have to continue getting shots like year after year? Is that going to be the new normal?
You know, I think that's something that we'll have to consider, just like the flu vaccine. We may have to get annual vaccines for COVID as we see these variants emerge. The ones that are out currently do tend to be a little bit more evasive of our medical therapeutics, but the good news is we really don't see an increase in hospitalizations.
Right.
And so hopefully this virus will at some point burn itself out, but certainly it's not telling us which way it's going to move.
And we know that that was the goal of the vaccines, to keep people out of the hospital, avoid those serious illnesses. Let's bring in some of the others for this panel. Daniel, to you. This extension by the government helps on the health care front, but we're beginning to see people across the country lose access to rental assistance in particular. If the government doesn't step in, what happens next? Give us a worst case scenario here.
I don't think I can make strong projections into the future, but I know that what we're seeing right now is an increase in rental filings above pre-pandemic averages in about half of the cities that we track in our eviction tracking system here at the Eviction Lab. And that's a result of the expiration of various pandemic-era renter protections like the eviction moratoria and like emergency rental assistance that we're starting to see run out right now. And we know that evictions have a bevy of like financial and medical health consequences for families who experience eviction. So we're going to see a very negative results for low-income renters from eviction filings that will increase as a result of the running out of emergency rental assistance funding.
Yeah, it could be quite a problem on our hands. Altagracia, I want to bring you in. As a tenant-landlord litigator, what rights do tenants have if their financial assistance does end and they end up getting that eviction notice? What can they do?
Yes, tenants have a bevy of rights, right? So it's very important that they know that when there is a notice on their door, it doesn't mean that they have to vacate. Usually the notice is actually initiation of a court proceeding telling them to go to court, right, and to have a fair hearing before a judge. So you do not have to just run out. We get calls all the time from folks, at least weekly, who say, I have a notice on my door that says I have to vacate in 10 days. Does that mean I have to vacate in 10 days? Usually it doesn't. Although it says so on it, it usually means that you actually have to appear in court. If you receive court papers, know when you receive it, how you receive it, because that's also a defense if you were not served properly. Those are some preparing for your defenses. Appearing in court if you have repairs, asking for a decrease in the rent. If there were repairs in your apartment that needed to be done and were not done during the time. And making sure you have access to free legal counsel or paid legal counsel if you are in need of it. That is available, at least in New York, right? The Right to Counsel program. As well, making sure that you strike a deal with the landlord if a deal can be made. A lot of landlords are looking for deals for some of the rent that needs to be paid. If it's not all, some landlords are looking for, 50%, right? So there are deals to be made out there, and also looking at other methods of receiving funding if it's not ERAP.
And we see rent prices going up across the country. A lot of people could be put in a serious pinch. Even the idea of exploring legal options on something like paying rent has got to be nerve-wracking alone. Dr. Morgan, as far as like the government goes, the Congress is about to enter a lame duck session. What does that mean in terms of extending funding? How important of an issue is this?
And so this is going to be incredibly important. And when we look at the different types of payers in this country, and this is our system of health care, so we have commercial payers and Medicare and Medicaid and all types of payers. We know that the Medicaid population for 1 year after this extension ends will still have access. Commercial payers, it will obviously be up to the individual commercial carrier. But what this means is there will be certain people who will no longer have access. And what we are enjoying now is a level of immunity in our society that we've been able to reach either via vaccination or with native immunity, meaning that you have been infected. But as we move on and these variants continue to evolve, it will be important to continue to have access to these vaccines. So it is of some concern.
Funding is definitely important. And Daniel, final thoughts with you. What can the government then do to prevent a serious wave of foreclosures, evictions across the country, just putting people out on the streets?
Yeah, Altagracia touched on it, but programs like eviction diversion programs and Right to Counsel that were implemented by the work of housing advocates and through the use of emergency rental assistance dollars during the pandemic do a lot to prevent evictions. And so I would say the expansion of policies like that, which we already are seeing, the implementation of eviction diversion programs in hundreds of cities and states across the country, programs that were piloted in places like Philadelphia. And bottom line, the solution to the affordable housing crisis is an increase in supply of affordable housing.
It's a fascinating topic and one that is often overlooked with so much COVID fatigue going on. We forget about people just need a roof over their heads right now. This is a serious issue. Dr. Morgan, thank you all for your time, for joining us on this very important topic, and we'll be right back.
And that's